What's up, Mortgage Coach and Trust Engine community? I've got a very special guest for you today, someone that is not easy to get on stages, although I've been fortunate enough to be able to interview. Steve, do you have any idea how many times we've done an interview for our YouTube channel?
It may be 4 or 5 by now.
That was my guess, but you and I, well, we've been in person a few times, in Portland. But yeah, 10 interviews that we've done on this.
That many? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the first one was in 2017. I can't remember. I think you spoke for a large independent mortgage banker. I was in the audience, and you just killed it. I mean, the quality of your slides were amazing. For anyone who doesn't know who this man is, he was it Chief Futurist for Intel?
Futurist at Intel, and then more recently, futurist, in-house futurist at DeepMind, Google's AI research labs in London.
So he's been studying where the puck has been going for a long time. He's also the author of the Innovation Ultimatum. Yeah, I've got it ready to go. I bet you've got one ready to show.
Yeah, do it. Snap. There we go.
There you go. And when did this publish? What?
Oh, it came out perfect timing. The time that only a futurist could deliver. It came out February 2020, about
That's what I thought.
3 weeks before lockdown. So the best time to release a business book.
Yeah, right. Not. Although it was, the technology explosion, and how fast you look at things like Zoom, went from like something that we used and a lot of people used it, but to like kids are learning on Zoom, and now Zoom is just a household name. I think, when you and I did an interview during COVID, we were talking about how cash is going away. You look at how much technology accelerated during that period of time. So I wanted to interview you, which is not necessarily, I think it's a big deal in America, but it's a really big deal in housing. And that is the NAR settlement. You and I have talked about that a little bit offline. I think it's going to be one of those events that accelerates technology and makes some real changes, although there's a lot of things that are changing housing right now. And this interview, we're going to center around the AI revolution, just because I think that's the technology that's having the most impact. Before we get into that, you shared a few highlights from your backstory, but just share a little bit about how you approach being a futurist, and a little bit on your backstory for anyone watching this, which everyone on this is a mortgage or real estate innovator. So we'll have people from both mortgage and the real estate industry watching. So how would you like to, kind of share a little bit that you think would help the audience?
Yeah. So who is this bald English dude? So I've been a futurist.
You said it. I didn't say it.
I'm used to it. I mean, it's real.
Yeah.
I can't help it. Yeah, I've been a futurist for 15 years now. And there are lots of different futurists out there. There's some ropey ones that will tell you that we're going to run out of water and big deal. I think of myself as an applied futurist. So I help organizations to figure out what are the possible futures for their organizations. How can they use technology and apply it to solve problems, to make themselves more productive, to create new customer experiences, to elevate their employees' performance, and so on. So I've now, because AI, I think, is the defining technology, not just of our generation, but of this century. And probably this is as big of a deal as the coming of electricity, the taming of electricity by humans. I think, so I now focus 100% on AI. I'm an AI futurist. And so I help companies to figure out what is their AI transformation strategy? How do they figure out what data they need, organize that data, and imagine what are the experiences they're going to build for their customers, for their employees, and make their operations run more smoothly so they can generate more profit.
Love it. So before we get into it, one of the things I learned from you, I don't remember if it was the first time I interviewed you or it was within the first 3, but I had asked you the question, like everybody who watches, our channel, they're in mortgage, they're typically local referral-based lenders. Although more and more we have consumer direct lenders that we help. I said, what advice do you have for them? And you said, I'm paraphrasing, I'm going to give the same advice that I've been giving to the specialty retail space. And I think you said for like a decade. And I go, what's that? And you go, WACD. And it was the first time I ever heard that acronym. And for anyone listening to this, hearing it for the first time, that's what Amazon can't do. Like, that's your advice. Do what Amazon can't do. And then you also used an analogy around Nordstrom's, do what they can't do and do what they can do. Has anything changed around that WACD leadership to the mortgage and real estate space?
No, I've just broadened it. I think of it in a different way now. So, we're moving into an era of augmentation and automation, where technology, particularly AI, is either augmenting our abilities and extending them, elevating our performance, turning us into superhuman performers, or it's going to automate away some of the tasks that we find boring and just don't want to do, things that are repetitive, lower value add. So when you're thinking about yourself personally and how you're going to thrive in the workplace of the future, the advice I give people is double down on your humanity. Think about the things that make you uniquely human, things that AIs and machines won't be able to do, and really improve the skills you have in those areas. Critical thinking, creativity, interpersonal skills, building relationships with other people. Those are the things that AIs won't do. So it's sort of, instead of what Amazon can't do, it's what AI can't do now. And that really comes down to, as I say, double down on your humanity. And you mentioned the NAR agreement. That's probably going to lead to a reduction in the number of points that you get when you do a deal, a mortgage deal.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which means you've got to increase your volume. It's going to mean people are going to fall out of the business unless we see, a huge increase and uptick in the volume. That means fewer people are going to survive, and it means those who do survive are the ones who figure out how to use technology so they can increase their productivity significantly, bang out more deals, and at those lower margins, and make bank. And
Yeah,
that's going to be the deal of the future.
that's pretty straightforward.
Pretty obvious
So
math.
yeah, let's start. When I've interviewed you in the past, we've talked about a number of technologies, innovations. By the way, they're all listed in the book. I'll put a link down below if you want to go deeper and hear some of the backstory with Scott. I'll put that in show notes. But let's we're doing this interview right now. It's May of 2024. How much different is it going to be in May of 25 and 2026? Like, how fast is this going to go in terms of the changes and the shifts, in your opinion?
It's going incredibly fast, probably increasing exponentially. If you look back just 3 years, people were marveling at what at the time was called GPT-3. And ChatGPT, by the way, is GPT 3.5. So this is the level that was just before ChatGPT. And that was, and people were marveling at the fact that it could vaguely understand what you were talking about and write poems. Now we have GPT-4o that came out very recently, O for Omni, which has the ability to understand across audio, video, symbols, charts, and speak and respond in a way that is almost human-like. So that's happened in just 3 years. So you asked about, well, what's going to happen in 25 and 26? 25, and possibly by the end of this year, in the second half of this year, we're going to see the move from chatbots to AI agents. So autonomous agents. Now, what's the difference between those two? Chatbots are sort of turn-based conversation. You say something to a chatbot, you type to ChatGPT, you wait while it comes back with a response. And when it's responded, it then waits for you to say something else. So a turn-by-turn conversation. With an autonomous agent, it's got a couple of things that'll be different. The first one is it'll be able to choose and use tools. So it'll be able to use tools to get things done online. So that we tend to think of the intelligence of other species and measure that by their ability to choose and use tools. So you see chimps using sticks to get termites out of a mound, for example. The ability to use tools is a sign of intelligence. The second thing is to be able to chain together the use of those tools to perform quite complex tasks. So for example, I'll make one up. Let's say you have a blog that you do and you want the agent to go and write you 15 blogs on housing policy and the challenges of building middle income housing. And you want it to have these sorts of topics, and you want it to go and post those at the times that are most relevant to your audiences over the next 5 weeks. That's all you say, you're done, and the agent goes and does it all. Now that's a simple, trivial example, but it gives you an idea of what we're talking about now. An agent I can offload tasks to, quite complex tasks, and it will just go and execute them. So that's probably second half of this year, certainly next year. And that's probably what GPT-5 is going to have. If the rumors hold up, they're going to have this sort of agent quality to them. And then 26 is hard to tell. I think you'll just see more sophistication in the models. Scaling of AI models matters. Size matters, it turns out, in the AI world. And so, these models are going to grow another 10-fold in size and then 100-fold in size. And they're going to get more able as a result. Now, the destination, so we're chatbots now, agents next. What comes after that is artificial general intelligence. So all AIs today are sort of narrow intelligence, which means they're good at doing one thing. These chatbots and agents are getting closer towards general intelligence. General intelligence is defined as an AI that is as good at doing all tasks, sort of economically valuable tasks, as a human. And when's that coming? The people I talk to in the industry, you get answers from 2 years from now to never. So it's somewhere in between those limits, but the smart money is on 2028, 2029. So what that means is powerful intelligence available, maybe not for everybody, because it's going to take a lot of energy to do this, and we can get into that, but powerful intelligence that can do as many things as a human as an assistant to everybody that wants it. That's where we're heading.
So I want to tackle a couple big concepts that we believe here at Trust Engine. And then I want to see if you agree with this advice. I think, like yesterday, every mortgage and real estate professional needs to think of AI and the technologies that help you deliver more value to the consumer beyond the transaction. So by the way, that's a really key word, beyond the transaction, because I think I don't want to say it's going to be easy, but it's going to be easier for companies to draw, as new automation comes in, to plug it into in our business, it's called the loan manufacturing experience. Like, I want to call it easy, but it's big companies, for all you in mortgage, LOS, POS, they're going to come in and as the technology becomes available, it'll plug into the loan manufacturing experience. And I think everybody's going to get it. Not everybody's going to get it at the same time, because there's always innovators. There's always a first majority. There's always the laggers that, like, I'm not going to do it until I'm the last one. But it's going to follow a natural flow. And, but I have this theory that where the real magic is going beyond loan manufacturing. And I bet this would be the case in a lot of businesses. And get your salespeople and the people that are representing you at the front end of the experience to think of the technology they have today as an AI data-driven assistant. And that assistant's just going to get smarter and smarter and smarter. And while the technology is going to come and get plugged in, teaching people to use these technologies is actually going to be harder and take longer than the actual technology itself. So to really invest in training your people, creating very adaptive cultures where, like, as the AI-driven assistant gets smarter, human beings just get more efficient at using these in front of the transaction. And then, of course, throughout the transaction. Any comments or thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, AI is just going to turbocharge all the tools that we use today. And then there'll be new tools as well, and it's going to be up to us to learn how to use them to boost our own productivity and to improve the quality of our output as well. So, I heard a great quote from somebody at South by Southwest this year, referring to AI, and she said, "Stop resisting and start learning." Because to your point, we're all going to have to learn how to use these tools. There's a learning curve, not just how to use them, but how to get the best results out of them. There's this notion of prompt engineering, right? Where when you're using an AI, the quality of the input you give it determines what kind of output you get. So start learning now, start embracing this stuff now, because your competitors are probably going to do that. So
Yeah.
figuring out how to use these tools throughout the workflow, to elevate the quality of your sales, to help you retrieve information more readily. I don't know what the specifics are for your industry, but in the sort of office sector, office workers, knowledge workers sector, the average office worker spends 32 days a year just looking for the information they need to do their job. That's 13% of their time. So if you can use artificial intelligence and connect it to all the information, all the documents, all of the data that's available in your organization, and then put that at the fingertips of your employees through what's called an enterprise intelligence agent. And there's a whole, we can get into the technology of vector databases and retrieval augmented generation, and how to do it, and how to bolt all this stuff together. Making that information available so you have a personalized chatbot for your organization that surfaces all the information that your people need with like a mega search capability. That could maybe save you 32 days per employee per year.
Yeah, no, it's staggering. Yeah, we've got an AI team right now working with our data science team, and the two places we're investing a lot right now is getting better at predicting, through both credit data, non-credit data, who is most likely to want to buy real estate, sell real estate, and refinance real estate, so we can be more predictive. And then you're very familiar with the total cost analysis. We're like, how can we make more like predictable advice? So predictive advice. Can we use AI to help the loan officer create a faster total cost analysis? And can we literally go from predictive data to, it's not if, we can, it's how fast can we do it? When you and I last talked, you used a term called digital intuition. And I formed like what that means to me. But would you mind, sharing for our audience what digital intuition is from a futurist perspective?
Yeah, well, let's talk more broadly first. So one of the things that AI will do for us is it will enhance our abilities. So it'll complement the abilities we already have and enhance them. So it might help you improve your negotiation skills by coaching you in the moment. It might help you to understand, analyze data in a document more effectively and summarize it for you and pull out the things that are relevant to you. So it helps you with better data-driven decision making. But another thing it can do is to help boost your intuition. And I know I called it digital intuition because it sounded fun, but
I wrote it down. I think I've used it about 3 times since.
Good. So what's that mean? What it means is, we're simple little creatures. Our brains can only handle so much information. We can't find complex patterns in oceans of data, but an AI can. AI can see an ocean of data, and AIs are really great at finding patterns. And those patterns are essentially intuitions, right? They give us a hint about what might happen. If it's time-based data and it tells me what's happened in the past, it gives me a hint on what might happen in the future. And so it allows you to build increased intuition. There's an example I wrote about in the book. I don't remember the name of the company, Sky Water or Skybridge maybe. It's an investment company in London, and they use AI, digital intuition, to make good guesses based on what else is happening in the real estate sector and figure out which building is most likely to go up by a certain percentage in the next 2 years. And that guided their investment decisions and allowed them to pick the prime plots, even though they weren't necessarily obvious to a human that this building was going to pop in price. The AI could predict it. It had better intuition. than the people who are picking the properties to buy.
That's so powerful. No, again, I'm so excited by this because one, I'm with a company where we're leaning into this and how do we apply these technologies and allow independent mortgage bankers, depositories, all different types of models, just be more predictive with their database and more predictive with their advice. One of the challenges, another word that I wrote down when you and I were talking, just catching up a couple days ago, was process orchestration,
Yeah.
which we've been doing. And at the end of the day, I think this is going to be one thing with this NAR settlement, all these buyers agents, they've not had well-defined processes, well-defined presentations. So for any loan officer watching this, I think, this is a time where you really want to map out what are the steps to the process and what can you apply technology to? And there are things that even today, you as an individual loan officer could be applying Chat GPT and other technologies. But you could be applying advice in a way that really changes the game for folks. But why don't you define that term as well? Process orchestration.
Yeah, so you can call it lots of different things. That's sort of the term of art that I have seen used most readily in the marketplace. I've also heard it referred to, and I often refer to it as human-machine partnerships. So what you're doing is, for all of your major business processes, and most organizations have 3 to 5 business processes. They might have a strategic planning process. They might have a customer acquisition process. They might have an operational process, sort of operational delivery. But however many processes you have in your company, you break them down. You write down what are all the different tasks and how does one lead into the next. And then you ask the tough question, based on the capabilities of technology today, which of those tasks is best still done by a human? And typically those are anything which is interpersonal, where you're building relationships and rapport with a client and that sort of thing. Which of those tasks is best done by an AI? And which of those tasks is best done by an AI and a human working closely together? So where the AI is coaching the human, or the AI is literally working in partnership. So I'll give you an example from sort of architecture and design. There's this notion of generative design, where the human designer might design office layout or the structure of a wing, or whatever it might be. And then the AI will take that design and riff on it. So within the design parameters that's been given, it'll come up with hundreds or thousands of alternative designs, then run those through simulation and figure out which is the optimal one, and then come back to the designer. And what you end up with is a collaboration between the human and the machine, a design that neither the human could have done on its own or the machine could have done on its own. That's called generative design. So that's an example of tightly working together, human and machine.
All right, everyone, you've probably heard some words you haven't heard before. At least they were new for me. I had not heard the word digital intuition. We use other words at Trust Engine. I had not heard the word process orchestration, although things that we are absolutely doing. But I want to connect the dots and help you understand how we think of this here at Trust Engine and what we're doing to help the lending industry going forward. So first, when you think of how the mortgage industry uses data, it's 10 years old. I mean, it's good. It's good that you have inquiries from Sales Boomerang and listing alerts and equity alerts and other types of data signals. But there's 2 challenges, and show you how we think of it and where we're going. One of the challenges is these signals and these alerts, they're already in the market. And let's face it, when it comes to an inquiry alert, there's a whole lot of people calling on that consumer. So it's a red ocean. And our CEO and Chief Product Officer, Rich Harris and Rich Labarca, when working at Oracle and helping Toyota be most efficient and most effective at bringing out a new pickup truck, they were looking for what are all the data attributes and what are all the things so that they could predict who's most likely to be the type of person that we should be marketing to. And beef jerky was one of those attributes that helped them target and drive a breakthrough efficiency in marketing and selling. So that's one thing that we're doing. And when I think of what he said, digital intuition, this is just an example of how we're trying to predict who's most likely to move up, who's most likely to be a first-time home buyer in a house, and using digital intuition strategies to drive all these opportunities in your database. If you're a lender right now, 1 to 1.25% of all your records, there's a good reason that your loan officer should be calling, and there's a good reason for you to be sending a message to get their attention. So think of that. Think of how are you operating? How are you optimizing loans using digital intuition? He also mentioned the term process orchestration, and I've been using this term now for a while, predictive advice. And I want to show you what we're doing to do that. So I'm going to show you a new mobile app that all of the lenders that are borrower intelligence clients are having rolled out right now. So there's a number of lenders whose loan officers have it. Is we're being predictive. We're using digital intuition, like who's most likely to move up, move down, or need some type of a refinance, a savings opportunity. And then at the same time, we're putting that in the inbox of the borrower to help the borrower save money, make great decisions. We're putting that on the mobile app of a mortgage professional with our app. They can sort it by priority, and we're using AI intelligence to make sure that we're predicting, and then we're organizing these. You could organize them by date. And when you scroll down, your loan officer is seeing the most recent update. It's getting updated in their mobile device. When you click on it, every single screen has an easy way for the loan officer to take action: email, text, call. We're giving advice. We're linking to scripts. We have an evolving integration with MortgageCoach, the ultimate conversion conversation. If the consumer has engaged with that digital interaction that we sent them, we know it. We're using all the data that we have, plus all the data that you have, and we're giving the loan officer everything they need to make it easy for them to reach out to that consumer at the right time and to have the most effective conversation with that consumer. In fact, we're even adding best practice scripts. As you know, I've interviewed thousands of the most successful loan officers in the country. So we know exactly what to say, exactly what to text. You know, what are the best practices? What are the loan officers with the highest conversion rates saying and doing? Copy, click to text. And again, whether it's a call, whether it's an email or a text, we're making that incredibly easy for them to take action. So I look at this and I think the ultimate in process orchestration to help you as lenders close more loans, incremental loans, and improve conversion so you can be more profitable. Anyways, go to our website, trustengine.com. There's a link down below in this video to request a demo. We do need a data set of 150,000 records or more. So loan officers, this is an opportunity to tell the leaders of your company, I want that Trust Engine app. I want to be as predictive as I can so I can deliver predictive advice and close more loans. So hope you're getting value. Keep listening to Steve, and please, if you're getting value, give this a like in whatever channel you're watching it.
Every company in the world
Right.
to go through this.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting time, and I think at the end of the day, it's going to improve value and convenience for consumers, and for the lenders and any industry, the businesses that embrace this. It is going to drive down costs, improve efficiency, and be a tremendous opportunity to profit. But I think we're going to be moving into an era of haves and have-nots. Any thoughts since we talked last on autonomous cars? And I asked that just because we got the real estate industry here, and you've had different thoughts over time. I now have a autonomous Tesla, so of course I keep my hands on the wheel, and I legally have to keep them on the wheel. And by the way, just using it, while it is helpful from an augmentation standpoint, I would not dare take my hands off the wheel because it is not perfect. But any thoughts on where that's going and when we will really have autonomous cars that could truly reshape, real estate in America? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I wrote this book back in I wrote it in 2019, came out February 2020. There are a couple of things in the book that I called wrong. And one of them was, I thought that we would see self-driving cars, like full self-driving, in the 2022, 2023 timeframe. Still hasn't happened. You know, you can argue there's the full self-driving mode on a Tesla, but I don't count it as full self-driving mode until I can fall asleep in the back. And it just takes me from destination, from A to B. We're not there yet. It turns out it's a really hard problem. And that the original approaches that the engineers were taking towards it would get us close, but they wouldn't get us to 100% accuracy and safety. So there's now sort of a regrouping. I think Tesla's doing a pretty decent job. They just come up with a new model, a new approach, which seems to be doing better, but that's going to need further refinement until you can take your hands off the wheel and enjoy a beer on your way on a long trip. I wouldn't want to. I screwed up last time by putting a date on it. I don't normally put dates on things. I wouldn't want to put a date on this one, but I think it's going to be another few years at least. And
Yeah. Any other trends, or if you want to call out specific innovations within AI that you think mortgage and real estate people in housing need to pay close attention to? Anything else that you want to call out?
I mean, we may see robots in construction. You know, there's been some interesting work done in 3D printing of homes with Icon. They had this gantry-based printer, which was fine, but it limited the width of the home, and so it made it fairly useless. They've now got a completely new, you know, it's an ARM-based gantry that can print all sorts of different structures, and it doesn't limit it on the size of the structure, can do multiple stories. So that's looking interesting. But humanoid robots, and this sounds crazy to say, but the advances in humanoid robots, if you've not been paying attention, just in the last 6 to 12 months are astonishing, absolutely astonishing. Look at companies like Figure, Astrobot, and Boston Dynamics. They are building robots that are pretty impressive in what they can do. What makes them impressive? Firstly, they're humanoid, and they're about the size of a human, so they can exist in the physical spaces safely that we also inhabit. So the Figure robot, for example, is 5'7", has a 5-hour battery life. It can lift 32 pounds in weight, 20 kilos, and it can walk at about 2.7 miles an hour. You don't want to walk any faster than that because, you know, I think we've all seen Terminator, and we'd like to be able to outrun these things if we can. So why is it interesting? Because it used to be when you programmed a robot, you had to tell it, well, now move your arm up, move it forward, press down, right? It was a very step-by-step. We programmed them. Now they have AI in them. They can learn from watching. So they can watch you perform a task, and they'll have a go at it, and they will learn through trial and error. So you don't have to program robots anymore. So the Figure robots are currently on trial at the BMW manufacturing plant in South Carolina. That's how far advanced we are. Also look at Agility Robotics, based in Oregon. They have robots on trial in Amazon warehouses today. So there is a labor shortage in construction. Now, I'm not saying that these Figure robots are going to be in construction next year. I don't think they will be. But maybe a few years from now, you're going to see robots become part of the physical labor force and able to perform tasks alongside humans, maybe supporting humans and craftspeople who are working in construction. And that's going to be a huge change. And the average US construction worker, I think, is 54 years old. So we're going to need some help, either through more immigration or through automation. It's one of the two.
Wow, I hadn't even thought of that. And that really does apply. I mean, there's, you know, absolutely an affordability crisis in America, and anything that would either lower the cost of housing or accelerate, you know, creating housing. I thought the 3D imaging was interesting, but yeah, but it sounds like all of those things are a couple years out.
Yeah,
Anything
at
else that's
least.
just kind of fun to think about? Although you already gave me a couple things. Any closing thoughts?
Well,
When
I'll send you a link to put in the notes for this for Figure so people can see where it's at now. And you have to remember when it comes to AI or these robots, these are as bad as they're ever going to be. And we're on an exponential improvement rate on these things. The CEO of Figure is on record as saying he thinks there is a market from him and other companies for 10 billion humanoid robots. There are 8 billion people on the planet. So they're thinking big. And their target price is to get these robots down to about 50,000 a unit. If you think about that, I mean, you sort of how many, if they work for 4 years, they have a lifespan of 4 years or so, which is very Blade Runner-ish, by the way. That works at about $17 an hour. So then you start to think the labor costs work out quite nicely. So watch this space. That's going to be a big one, I think. Other thoughts to leave people with? I would look at generative design. Generative design is good for, I did some work with a truss group of companies that make construction trusses recently. And I was telling them about a product. I've not used it. I'm not advocating for the product, but if you're interested to see the sorts of things I'm talking about, check out a company called Daisy. Daisy does truss design for construction. And they're using generative design to, you give it the outlines of the building and where the internal support walls are, and it automatically designs the trusses for the construction for you. And does it
That's
pretty
really interesting.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of stuff out there.
What are your thoughts? I know in some of our conversations, either it's just over a beer or in person, we've talked about Moore's law. And do you think it's dated, like it's accelerated? The idea that we're going to have 10 years of change, 50 years of change in 10 years, that things are accelerating, and Moore's law of 10 divided by 50 is no longer the case. Like everything's going faster. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Moore's law is only part of the picture, right? Moore's law is the piece that says the number of transistors on a chip doubles every 2 years. That's still going, but the benefits of putting twice the transistors on a chip every 2 years is sort of falling off. We're not getting the power consumption and the speed improvements that we used to, but they're still getting some. So there's improvements coming in other areas, in the scale of these systems, and in the architecture, the way the systems are designed for AI. I mean, we are seeing a 10-fold increase in the capability of AI models every year. And that has held true for the last decade. So 10-fold increase every year for the last decade. You do that math, that adds up pretty quickly. And I don't see any reason why that's not going to continue for the next 5 years, certainly. Then we start getting into areas of worrying about, do we have enough energy to power these beasts? We're building on average about a data center somewhere in the world every 3 days. Michael Dell thinks that we need probably 300 to 400 times the number of data centers that we have today in order to build out the AI that we need. So data centers today consume about 4% of the world's power. So we're going to need a lot more energy generation. So that's likely to be the limiting factor on this stuff. So building data centers is going to make some people a lot of money. And
man, I think I got some good advice as an investor here. Like where is the puck? Look up some stocks in some of these growth areas.
Energy companies, man.
Well, I hope to see you on a lot of stages over the next couple of years. Events are back. I referred you to Clayton Collins. Hopefully we'll see you on some of the Housing Wire events. But for any lenders that are putting on sales rallies, I think having you on those stages would make a lot of sense, because you do just a beautiful job. You didn't show any slides in this meeting, but trust me, you want to watch this. His slides are like the best. His keynotes are amazing. And if you want to turn your loan officers into data-driven mortgage advisors that are using technology efficiently, for any CEOs and executives, you're spending millions of dollars on technology. that loan officers aren't using. I always say the biggest line item of expense is technology that you've invested in, that either people aren't using it or they're not using it properly. So for anyone that wants to have you speak at one of their event or learn more, what's the best way to reach out to you and also follow you? What's the best social media or way to stay in tune and keep learning from you?
Sure. And thank you for the kind remarks, Dave. I appreciate that. I work hard to make my presentations look and feel great. I've actually 10x them since you last saw them. So
I can't believe that. I don't think that's possible.
All my images are AI generated. They're beautiful. I've got cool videos of robots, cool videos of AI applications. So yeah, I'm really proud of the way it looks now. It looks even better. So how can you find me? Very easy. Steve Brown. That's my very boring name. SteveBrown.ai is my website. And if you're interested in keeping up on what's happening in the world of AI, I do a newsletter once a week. I write it myself. It's not written by an assistant. It's not written by an AI.
You're getting a little AI help. Come on, you're getting a little AI help.
I
No?
refuse.
Okay, so you're being a purist.
It's a newsletter for humans, written by humans about AI. So it's the sort of AI stories of the week. There's always a video in there if you prefer videos. And it's just sort of my analysis of what's happened in the week of AI. So to get that, you need to go to my website, stevebrown.ai, and click on the thing that says newsletter, or you just go to synthetic.stevebrown.ai and you can sign up right there.
Awesome. Man, well, hey, let's not, I think we're averaging, and I did check, I interviewed you almost 2 years ago when we launched the Trust Engine YouTube channel. So there's another interview, but let's try not to wait 2 years between bringing you into the community, and hopefully I'll see you in the real world. You'll be on some stages and we'll be in the same room together.
Well, I'm back now. The reason it was for 2 years is because I was in London working for DeepMind.
So that is right. And it was top secret. It was top secret. He's like, Dave, I can't, talk about what I'm doing. You barely told me where you were. By the way, how was that? Was that pretty interesting?
It was an amazing experience. I was supposed to go for a 12-month assignment. We extended it to 18 months. I couldn't talk about what I was working on, although at the last Google I/O event, which was last week, they revealed Project Astra. And that was something I had a little something to do with. So yeah, it was a thrilling place to be. I was surrounded by incredibly smart and kind and wonderful people. That was what's really stuck with me, is the people were just all so great. And so yeah, I missed my time there. It was fabulous to be back in my motherland, and it recharged my accent a little bit to be back home for 18 months. So yeah, it was great. Thanks for asking.
Well, good to have you back in the States. I'll let you know when I'm in Portland. Appreciate you. Anyone watching this, make sure you give it a like if you got value from this. Probably watching it in our YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. And if you want to learn more about how to be as predictive as you possibly can be with your database, and if you want to be with a forward-thinking company that's investing in data science, AI, make sure you get a demo in the upper right-hand corner of our website, trustengine.com.